So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 107 and we continue with our exercise. Actually, I will present two solutions here. One solution will be that what I started in the last video, that we are reusing code, which means we have already created, for example, login, and then I'm reusing this login, and then I go to the web and get, for example, additional code. And if I understand this web code, then I reuse this code from other persons. And this is a learning process where we are handling code which are already existing. And this is very important for if we get better and better, because in the future we will also use GitHub. And GitHub means you can create and share your code online so that everybody has access to it, but you have also access to other people's code, which means we have the ability to understand other people's code. And this is very good for this learning process, that we reusing code and integrating to our own, let's say, our own program. But on the other side, we are beginners, which means we have to repeat all keywords from scratch. This is very important as well, because we are still learning all this kind of stuff. That's why we make also the approach, we write all from scratch. And in this video, I want to write just this login from scratch and explain it. And it's not, it's more or less still a repeat of the login procedure what I did before, but we make it easier. So, and we encapsulate this one in a function. And you can see here already I have here finished this other code which with code reuse, and this one I'm not going to use. So with that said, this one I comment now out because I'm not using this one. So now it's out. And what I start fresh with a login. So first of all, how we are starting all time. First of all, read our description on top. It says here, create an account for a customer with password. Last video, I reused this line with a code. This video I created, but I create a very, very simple one, and I will not create any account data. I make just the login. So because our goal is just to crack this login with a brute force, and yeah, that's it. So let's get started. First of all, I start with my int main because this is my start point, and we learned main is also a function, the start function. We learned we need here this body. We learned this one is a return value, and we learned return is needed. Why? Because it's an undefined behavior without this one. All right, so far we know all things, and now the next thing is we have here on top some libraries. These libraries are only needed when we use them. So perhaps I don't need them, perhaps I need them, I keep them. If I don't need them, I will later delete them, but these are most time the things which we are using, so I keep them at start. Okay, this is also cleared. Let's continue. The next step is we want to create a login, but we learned also functions, which means in the end here in my int main, I want just call a function, which so it is separate from other logical steps. So here is my login. The next function call is, for example, create passwords, and the next function could be, for example, create crack the login. We can write this here as a plan. We can make here a little bit plan. So for example, write login function. All right, my next plan is write password generator, and the next thing could be, for example, use passwords to crack login. Something like that. And this one must be not right. Perhaps we change these steps, depends on how we are implementing them. But this is my plan. This is so my first step, right? So we learned, oops, sorry, that we have to write a plan so ahead, and that makes our life easier when we write a plan. In general, you would do this one. Perhaps you would, if you get a little bit more professional, this plan steps you would make not here directly. Perhaps yes, this pseudocode you would still write here, but in general you would have yes, like I said, a separate plan mechanism. For example, how to organize all coding in a separate file and outside with strategies. For example, there is, what was there? There are different kind of strategies. One simple one is, I use forgot the name. Anyway, yes, the strategy is how you can make this outside of this code. So let's continue. So I said I write a login, and I said I want not make a big difference than what I already have. And here I have already this login here. I want go here just to my login and make it similar. So I want create two databases, because I need two databases, because most time name and a password is saved in a database, right? So we have to create databases. Okay, let's write this as a plan as well. So create. Okay, let's create this. I think we know this, that we know. Let's go on to, because I could write here now plans, but I think we can just get started. So, okay, I create databases. The question is now, create a databases here in this function place, or here global, or local to the function itself. So this one we have to decide at this point, and I say I create first the function, and I will create this databases first global, which is bad. We learned globals are not all time safe, but we have easy access. So we make it other way around, because globals are bad. So we start local, and then we say if we need global access, we can put it global, or we can write another function who gets this global, and it's called a getter and a setter, but later with this one. So let's get started. All right. First, I need a function. All right, let's create a function, which is called login. I start all time with void, because I don't know if I need a return type at start. Okay, void means no return type. And the function name is login function. Login account, or let's call it login account, because function, and that we know it is a function. Login account, and we have to decide if we need parameters, and in my case I start without. Perhaps I need. If I need, I can change this definition. All right, I continue, and then I have my function, my login account. And what is that? That is a definition, right? Let's say here under int main we write function definitions. And with that said, let's see. With that said, I continue. I copy this line, and I say, wait a minute, this one is first of all, I want call it. Let's call it first, so that we see what we are doing. All right, when I call it, I use just the function name, the parent, the close round brackets, and then I have this one. So the next thing is to remember, when we call a function and the definition comes later, we need a forward declaration, or a declaration, call it what you want, but we need a declaration. I call it a forward declaration, but you can call it also a normal declaration, because this one must make visible the compiler will complain. On the other side, the compiler would not complain if you put this function before main. All right, and with that said, I make here an S, and I put them all time on top. And all right, we have, so our yes, our little structure here already. So we have here on top forward declarations, but there is one more thing what we can write on top. Perhaps we don't use it later. Global variables, but right now we have no global variables, so let's keep this out. And now we have this one. Okay, we have our call, and now we need to finish our function definitions, of course. So how we create our login. And like I said, login means we just watch how I did this here. So if you want not too much things, use create a database, create a second database, and then make a while loop, and then get the access, and then that's almost it. And then make a for loop to compare, and then yeah, we are repeating a lot of things here when we are doing this, right? So let's create them. First of all, databases. We don't know if we need them local or global, so let's use it as first local, because the login has databases. Normally, this databases will be not in the login function, so in general later, but we assume it's here. So, or it will be not even in this program here. So we say we create databases. How we create databases again? First of all, when you hear databases, it has all time something to do with an array, or later we learn other structures which are similar to arrays, which are vectors, map, lists, and so on. But right now we know only arrays. Okay, let's create a database with arrays. And this return type, not the return type, the elements type of the array you have to specify at the start. And in our case, I use string because I want the names. So database names, I call this database usernames, or let's call it just usernames, because we know this will be, yeah, perhaps we know not. Username database, I write database behind this. And then when we create an array, we learned array creation means all time we have to use this bracket. Here was something special. You can specify this one, or you can't. You have not to specify this one, but then you have to initialize this one so the compiler knows how many elements you will create. In our case, I create. Let's make it not difficult. I say only 2 users. One is coder, and the other is Wonder Woman, and we have two entries. Of course, a database has normally more than 1,000, 100,000, millions, or even more. Our database is simplified. Good. So this is the first one, and we need a second one. Why we need a second one? Because we need a databases connected to this database, which are the passwords, right? So let's create again std string, and here this std means standard library, right? This colon. We learned this means this is a resolution operator, right? We need this all time, and a string like all time our normal type. So let's continue. We have now, I create a user, no, I call it now password. We can call it user passwords database, and we make this one also an array, and I initialize them at start. So, and now I write, and I use here again the trick which we used to make them even. And the trick was, when I use here an array, then I use exactly the same array for the passwords, and then I order the passwords in the order which I want to give them. For example, coder must be on the first column here, on the slot. And let's make this one here, let's see. And we make a very short password. Let's call this one AA just for fun. And the next one is here for Wonder Woman on the second slot, which is here also yeah, we have to talk about this one. How is, if this is real the second slot or is not. And let's call this one here BB. So, and now I created this one. And here, very important to note is an array starts all time with slot 0 later in when you call it. So when you call it, the first element is slot 0, right? We know this, we learned this. Don't make the mistake to start with 1. So, and that means coder is slot 1, password AA is slot 1, and later we connect this one, and not through code, through our logic, because we have this arrays, and arrays are not really good actually for this kind of stuff. We will learn, like I said later, better structures where you have, for example, a key and for example 2 values which you can assign. Then you can assign a name and a password in one database similar array, but it's not an array. All right, let's continue. And then, okay, I have created now my databases, and now I watch just that what I did here. So I have now created this kind of stuff, and I skip now all this other kind of stuff right now because we don't need them. And I make just this login here with this. I need a while loop, I need a login, and then I need to check this logins well, probably. So let's write this one as well. And you see, this is not code reusing, which means it takes a lot of time, because it would be much easier if I just copied this one up and here on top. But we have to repeat also a little bit the elements. That's why I make now the long way, which is we type all one by one, and that's very good for practice purposes as well. So let's continue. So I have created this one. Now I want to create, what was it? We need a while loop, right? And the reason for this while loop is important. You have to explain what you are doing, because I know already why we have here a while loop. Normally you would not start with a while loop. Perhaps you would rather start with this login and later come to this while loop. Why? What is the reason for that? You start with login, you ask the person to enter the name, you ask the password, and if the password is wrong, or wrong, or name is wrong, or the password is wrong, you would loop back and ask again. That's why we have this while loop. So it's very important that you can explain the elements here. And sometimes when you see a code, for example, when we're reusing a code, it makes not sense to see this one at start, because like I showed you here, normally you would start with this one and you would come later through development to this point while, because you want loop later back. So this is in development something strange. So let's start also here with the login and then come back with the loop, because this is normally the normal way. But this time, yes, let's write this one here. I could copy this one, but I'm not doing this because I said we train this as they. And I think it was get line. I don't know which was, yeah, get line. So it was this get line, and then we have to use, remember this get line is better than say in. The say in was a problem, right? Because we can enter only one element, and when we enter more it makes problems. This get line will get the whole line which we are entering and then use it in a normal way. So the just thing is I forget how to use it. So first of all we write here stdcin, I think. Was it here? I'm not sure. And then we write the variable name where we want to save it. So which means we have to create at this point variables where we want to save it. Let's create these variables. We call this std string, and let's save them in username input, and we initialize this one with nothing at start. And let's do the same for the password, std string user password word input, and initializes as well with nothing, because I know I will ask for this one as well. So, and then I use here this get line. You have to check how to use that. I'm not even sure if I'm using this one right, username, but if you are not sure, just use it. And I use here the variable, and now we have the first line, and this line is better, right? So let's see. I'm not sure if this is working. Perhaps I have to call here. We will see later. And then the next thing is, let's see. This is the get line. I created here the function, but you see we have here again the problem. What is the problem? You can see it already here when we compare. Let's make here a comparison. What is the problem here? Yes, we need again which is called info for the people who want to put in the login. But this one I'm copy because I don't know this spaces here, how much space I have. That's why I copy this one at least. Yeah. So I don't have to figure out the spaces. And here is the name input. So I paste this one in, and then I get rid of this one. And this one I really copied just because I don't know this spaces here, because this is just the file formatting to make it a little bit more pretty. And yeah, but you see this is just SDDC out, then info on the screen, what the user should input, and then get line, and we use this one. So that's fine. We can test this code actually. Can we test this code? I think we can. And then we can start this and see if there are errors or anything. And you can see login, okay, a little bit style errors perhaps because we can enter something. And we have here a little bit style errors, which means, let's see why I have here no style errors and there are style errors. We can check this. Okay. Username, okay, and then we could, I make there a little bit better. I give there a little bit more info on the screen. Here, let's make this also here. To here, this one I really copied. This is just style. Style means the formatting presentation on the screen. This is, yeah. The problem here is I really don't know the space here. That's why I make this one. And now it should be look better. You can see now it pops up in the mid, and that's very nice. And then you can write here coder. We made our first step. That's very nice, right? Okay, this we understand. This is just for style, and very important. The real purpose is not the style. The real purpose is to get information on the screen what the user should input. And the same goes then after this one for the other two inputs, right? We need the other ones here. Password. We have here username, and then we write here password. Let's copy this one line too. And yeah, this is again style. All right, and then here again this get line, this time copy, but this time I reuse a little bit code from here because I explained this one all. We already did this, and here I have just to change this input name here, and I write a user password input, and now this one will be stored there. And we almost finished our account, so we can create the username. Okay, coder, and you can now see I can write here coder the best man, and with say in I can't this because this one is reading the line, and now my username is when I type in this one coder the best man, and then I can try anything here, and this will be set there, right, to this and this one. So we have made almost this login part, the first part of the login, let's say so, because now we have make a check part. So here I solved all this in a while loop, but here in this presentations we will make here again a separate function for the check. And I think I stop here And the check part for this login we make in the next video, because we first we, like I said, all from scratch, and we use functions here because we have to train these functions. These functions are very not difficult, but later you have to see how to use this, where to use this, and you can't let's say train this with understanding. This is only possible with really using it, and you will see that we will start to jump a little bit, and we have to handle this one as well. So okay, so far I stop here. If you have any questions or any complaints like all time, write it in the comments, and see you in the next video. Bye.